Hello everyone, I'm CoolGuy, welcome back, and today let's go in depth into the new Warmind exotic submachine gun, the Huckleberry. It's a part of the new 750 RPM category brought with Warmind. The flavor text reads, "Nothing in the world that 30 rounds can't solve." Now visually, it's a very stunning weapon, gorgeous, vintage Tex Mechanica, and weapons like this really make you stop and appreciate the teams involved, so concept, art, animation, like the reload animation, there's so many moving parts. Bungie did a really good job with this one, it just looks exotic. Starting off with the base stats, let's jump right in. With a range of 53, stability of 42, magazine of 30, a low reload speed of 10, low handling of 60, an aim assist stat of 49, and a recoil direction stat of 100. Some of the perks help these poor stats out. We have fluted barrel. Ultralight barrel greatly increases handling speed, slightly increases stability. Ricochet rounds ricochet off hard surfaces, increase stability, slight increase to range, and ricochet rounds are really huge for range actually. Short action stock, the weapon is especially easy to grip, increases handling speed again. We have Rampage, kills with this weapon temporarily grant increased damage. So the extra damage lasts for 3.5 seconds, and Rampage grants 10% more damage and stacks up to 3 times. Its main perk is Ride the Bull. Increased fire rate and recoil when you're holding down the trigger. Kills with this weapon reload a portion of the magazine. This weapon falls into our kinetic category. Does really good damage to non-shielded enemies in PvE. The 750s fall in between that gap, between the 600 archetype and the 900s. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. When I first got the weapon, which is actually the first day or two of Warmind, I used it for a short period of time and I just kind of vaulted it. Because my initial thoughts were like a lot of people, you know, it's fun, it's decent, but there's so many good weapons right now to try out. I was getting my fix with the Graviton Lance in PvE, I was leveling up. But since then, I've used it heavily for the past couple weeks, and I've gotten a really good feel on how to use it. The Ride the Bull perk is very interesting, it has a lot going for it. You get an increased fire rate and recoil when holding down the trigger. So let's go ahead and walk through that, see how it's working. The Huckleberry goes through 3 stages. Stage 1 is the base 750 RPMs, Stage 2 is Ride the Bull, and Stage 3 is Ride the Bull times 2. There are 30 rounds, and it says you get that increased fire rate when you hold down the trigger. It does not count the first bullet, which makes a lot of sense. So in its basic instance of just firing the weapon, the number to pay attention to is 29 as the starting point, because each 10 rounds after that, Ride the Bull amps up. So your first bullet comes out, you're holding down the trigger. When you get to 19 rounds left, Ride the Bull starts. When you get to 9 left, Ride the Bull times 2 starts. And as you're going through these stages, it's the idea of riding a bull. It goes faster and all over the place. And when you get a kill with a Huckleberry, a portion of the magazine is directly inserted into the mag, resulting in a constant stream of bullets. And most of the time, it adds 15 rounds back. And if you're at the end of the magazine, you're gonna have Ride the Bull times 2 active to keep going and get that going. The remaining rounds are with the fastest fire rate possible, which is a good thing. So if you're getting kills, holding down the trigger, you should be in Ride the Bull times 2 and eventually end up where we want to be. That's with Ride the Bull times 2 and Rampage times 3. Let's start off in PvE. It's absolutely brilliant there. I love it. PvE is where you get everything the Huckleberry has to offer, and I read it in various areas from Patrol, Strikes, Escalation Protocol. It's the idea of getting really good damage, trying not to reload, and keeping a steady stream. It is, of course, very good for trash mobs, but I found that with certain gear and skill trees, it can become very good in numerous encounters, not just for ads. The way I like to run Huckleberry and the best way it's utilized is an up-in-your-face attitude. Now the recoil can get out of hand, it's very tough to land shots at mid-range. So if you do decide to engage in mid-range, you need to tap fire it. Maybe a knight's running at you, tap him until he's in range and then you spray him down. And I want to stress that spraying your enemies down with Rampage times 3 and Ride the Bull times 2 is exactly where you want to be. So when you start mowing ads, getting a kill, ammo back in the mag, getting up Ride the Bull to times 2, and staying there as long as you can. Now that isn't always possible, so what I like to do is get my Rampage stack up and spend the rest of the mag on a yellow bar or a boss with that max Ride the Bull. There are a couple ways that I found that have the most synergy with Huckleberry. The first one is my favorite. It's on the Hunter, it's using the sealed Ahamkara grasps. Now these are new Warmind exotic gauntlets and they're extremely underrated. The exotic perk is called Nightmare Fuel, dealing melee damage reloads your currently equipped weapon. This setup has so much going for it, and when I'm using the grasps, I don't even reload. And if you do have these gauntlets, I strongly encourage you to go out and try them with the Huckleberry. Very rarely, maybe in a rotation, that's when you're gonna have to reload. But with this setup, you have ads running up on you and around you. You mow them down when you don't think you can get a kill though. You can't keep that magazine going, you just melee something. It reloads fully, automatically, and then you start again. I went through entire Escalation Protocol levels without reloading, and some of the tougher enemies I just get right up in their face, spin my mag, melee them, and then repeat. It's non-stop aggressive. And I love it, and I found that the Arc Strider is the best subclass to utilize this setup with for a couple reasons. Number one, if you're a Night Stalker or a Gunslinger, you're taking away the Nighthawk or the Rigs, but with the Strider, you're kind of taking away the Flux. But most importantly with the Arc Strider is the top skill tree, Way of the Warrior. It has synergy with what we want to do. Melee kills recharge your dodge and combination blow. Kill an enemy with this melee ability to trigger health regeneration and increased melee damage. The second build is a Claws of Ahamkara Devourer Voidwalker. It's the same concept. Now, we all know how good Devour is, but with the Claws, you're granted 2 melee charges. It's one of those things, try to see how long you get Devour going. Start with your Huckleberry, and when you need it, you throw a melee out, get a kill, get Devour, do your thing, and you still have a second charge on standby with the Claws for another melee to get it going. And honestly, it's a perfect reason to use the Claws. You don't see them too much. I first tried the Ophidians to get the reload a little bit better, but found myself coming back to the Claws, because the 2 charges to get Devour going, plus if you're cornered and out of charges, you can just consume your grenade to get it going. There's a lot of survivability. So this is a perfect time to talk about the Huckleberry Catalyst. It's obtained through heroic adventures, and once you get it, you need 500 Huckleberry kills. The Catalyst grants Ambitious Assassin, and it's a perfect fit for the weapon. Ambitious Assassin adds 10% magazine per recent weapon kill to the ammo in the next magazine, up to a maximum of 50% at 5 recent weapon kills. So in the Huckleberry's case, we have 30 rounds, and reloading with 5 recent kills will cause the next magazine to be 45. And it sounds like Bungie had this idea all along with Ambitious Assassin pairing it with the Huckleberry. It just works really well. You get quick, easy kills, you're making ores because it's a masterwork, reload, and then have the mag of 45, and the rules still apply for the stages. But only with Ambitious Assassin, you're gonna have way more time with Ride the Bull times 2, if you're getting those rapid kills and refilling the magazine each time. And by the time the magazine is spent, you're probably getting a couple kills here and there, so you're gonna reload and have 36 there, 39, 45. I really like it. Moving on to PvP, the Huckleberry does 15 to the head and 14 to the body. Not much of a difference there, and we're going to stress that as we go throughout the PvP section. The time to kill is around 1 second, and it's hard to judge since we have the Ride the Bull perk. It's also odd that the Huckleberry does 15 to the head and the other 2 750 RPM SMGs do 16 to the head. And it makes me believe that the dev team thought that the Huckleberry could be an issue possibly, because it does have that Ride the Bull perk. And if that is the case, I wish that they didn't do that, because here's my philosophy, and it goes all the way back into Destiny 1 with exotic weapons like this. Because in Destiny 1, if you, let's say, make the Invective really good, that takes a thorn out of someone's hands. If you make the Chaperone really good, it takes the last word out of someone's hands. So in Destiny 2's case, if you made this Huckleberry rip with 16 critical damage, and just like the base archetype, and also has Ride the Bull with Rampage, it makes it appealing. That might take a lance out of someone's hands, a Vigilance Wing out of someone's hands, if that makes sense. But in its current state though, it can compete. I really enjoy it. And you have to use it like a 900 RPM SMG. You have to be close, aggressive with it. It does really poorly outside of range. It's not like an Antiope. Most of your kills are going to be with Ride the Bull, and that's how you want to use it. But here's something I want to stress to you guys. This is going to make your time with Huckleberry much more enjoyable and will allow you to have much better games with it. With the recoil, with the range, the precision and body difference with 15 to the critical and 14 to the body, I do not recommend that you worry about precision shots, because 14 straight body shots is 196 damage, that's going to be enough. If you landed 13 straight headshots at 15 damage, that's 195, so don't worry about precision. The Ride the Bull perk will get the job done. For console especially, the Huckleberry does have one trait about it that it always does. Right when you pull the trigger, it immediately goes up. So when you use Huckleberry, aim center body mass when you start off your engagements. Let the recoil come up into the head, and most of the time it's going to rise right into the head and you're going to get headshot damage anyways. Be very relaxed with it and you're going to have better games. There were a couple times I was low health, so I get into engagement, I outduel the guy. So at this point, my magazine gets 15 more because of the Ride the Bull perk. And then I have Rampage, so the next guy I can start doing just a little bit more damage, and on that guy I'm doing 15 to the body and 16 to the head, and so on as we start ramping up the Rampage. It saves you a little bit. In conclusion, I really like the Huckleberry personally, especially since I've gotten the hang of it, but a couple things need to be said. In both PvE and PvP, it is an above average weapon. It's not elite. However, I mean, with the 2 builds we went over earlier with the Hunter and the Warlock, it can potentially be elite. You're just gonna have to try it out yourself. The issue lies in a couple things. Number 1, I would have liked to have seen the base starting mag greater than 30, like 36 would have been just about right. And when you saw me clearing ads in the gameplay, it looks like the Sunshot would have done just fine there. But you also have to take into consideration the amount of reloading you're not doing with a Huckleberry. Graviton Lance would be good too. So would a Sleeper Sim or a Darcy. But for what it does though, the Huckleberry is above average for certain encounters. In PvP, as a kinetic SMG, it shares the same space as the King, Antiope. That SMG still holds the best time to kill of all SMGs and has the benefit of kill clip, and you have a lot of range with it. It's a give and take. If you don't hit your headshots with Antiope, you have the slowest time to kill out of all SMGs. Now the Huckleberry is just a little bit more relaxed. You just spam the body down with Ride the Bull. So again, in PvP, it's above average. It's not necessarily elite. I've done full trials cards with it, Comp, Quick Play, Iron Banner. I've had great games. You just have to work with the weapon and not against it. Just let it do its thing. So down in the comment section, let me know what you guys think of the Huckleberry. I've spent a great deal of time with it, especially with the Graphs Archstrider. It's a very, very fun setup. I hope you learned something, and if you're new to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button. We always have good conversations down in the comment section, and we're a pretty chill bunch. Thank you guys for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.